Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back another video today, and today I'm going to be making my series preview and predictions for the Golden State Warriors and Minnesota Timberwolves playoff series that we will witness in the second round. Anthony Edwards versus Stephen Curry. I mean, what a run Anthony Edwards would be on if he just took down Stephen Curry. In his last four playoff series wins, it would be against Luka, LeBron, Steph if they were to win this series, KD, and Jokic. That'd be incredible. And I know Anthony Edwards, he wanted to take down KD. That was a huge goal for him. He got it done. And I know he probably felt the same about LeBron, especially being doubted in that series. And then I know the same thing has to be with Stephen Curry. But this young kid right here, Anthony Edwards, if he takes down in the span of a little bit over a year, if they win this series, Anthony Edwards takes down Steph, Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy, LeBron and Luka, and KD, and you can include Nikola Jokic in a little bit over 1 year in the playoffs if he eliminates all those guys. Then and especially with how talented he plays and the talent he has, you have to look at Anthony Edwards being potentially the new face of the league once LeBron, Steph, KD are no longer in this league. So Anthony Edwards has shown how talented he is in these playoffs. He did last series against the Lakers. He did last year when they had their two series against the Nuggets and the Nuggets and the Suns. I mean, he wasn't terrible in that Dallas series in the conference finals, but the team didn't play well, and Luka and Kyrie killed them, and so they lost that series. But I'm sure Anthony Edwards is probably hungry to get back to the conference finals and make the outcome different than it was for him last year when they lost in 5 games to the Dallas Mavericks. And I know Anthony Edwards is probably hungry for the conference finals again in a better series because they got killed against Dallas. Dallas was up 3-0. Their only win in that series was a Game 4 win, with their backs against the wall, and they got embarrassed in the conference finals last year. So I know Anthony Edwards has to be hungry to go back to go back to that spot, but he's got a tough challenge to deal with it because you've got to deal with Stephen Curry and Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green defensively. The others on this team, like Shaquille O'Neal likes to say, the shooters like Pajemski and Hield, and the defenders, the other shooter, Quinn Post, who's very underrated. The defenders, like, as I mentioned already, Draymond, but Gary Payton, who we'll see if he plays tonight in Game 1. This is a really solid Warriors team. I like the Minnesota Timberwolves in this series, though, and I'm gonna tell you guys why. The one thing I witnessed as a Rockets fan watching this Rockets-Warriors series, the one thing I really noticed, and I think even Warriors fans noticed this as well, the Warriors got absolutely killed in the rebound game. The Rockets murdered the Warriors in the rebound game. Most games doubled their rebounds. Most of the time the Rockets' rebound total was double the Warriors. Size was a huge issue for the Warriors in the last round. But here was the Warriors' advantage. The Warriors had superstars, which is something the Rockets didn't have, and not only that, the Warriors had good three-point shooting, which is something the Rockets didn't have. Now here's where things get tricky in my opinion. Minnesota has very good size, just like the Rockets do. Maybe not as good as the Rockets, because the Rockets have Steven Adams, who's 7 foot, Jabari's almost 7 foot, Şengün's almost 7 foot. They've got a lot of great size. So I don't think Minnesota's size is as good as the Rockets is, but Minnesota really they outsize this Warriors team. Gobert's 7 foot, Naz Reid is almost 7 foot. Or 7 foot, if I'm correct. Julius Randle's 6'9", McDaniel's 6'9". They've got good size on their roster. If I said McDaniel's is 6'8", McDaniel's is 6. If I said McDaniel's is 6'9", McDaniel's is 6'8", not 6'9". But with like, for instance, in their starting lineup, compare their starting lineups with Minnesota and Golden State. Draymond Green is the starting 5 for the Golden State Warriors, and he is 6'5". Meanwhile, The small forward for the Minnesota Timberwolves is 3 inches taller than the Warriors center. Jaden McDaniels 6'8", Randall 6'9", Gobert 7 foot. That is a huge. They've got a huge size advantage. Then they also have Naz Reid off the bench who's 7 foot, and then meanwhile the Warriors, their tallest guys. You got Quinn Post, who is 7 foot, but he's coming off the bench. I don't know. If you're the Warriors, do you look to play Kevon Looney more in this series? Is that something you look at, especially with him having a solid Game 7? I don't know. But I'll tell you that the size is going to be an issue again for this Warriors team. But here's what Minnesota has that the Rockets don't. The Timberwolves have a superstar. As a Rockets fan, the Rockets did not have that superstar. Şengün, I think in the near future, he can become a superstar, but he is not one now. Jalen Green, I thought he could become a superstar. He is obviously not going to become a superstar. Van Vliet, I think he can be at the most an all-star level player, but they don't have a superstar right now. Amin Thompson, I think, will be a superstar, but is he one now? No. So the Rockets don't have that superstar. The Timberwolves do. And he's wearing number 5. That's Anthony Edwards. He's their superstar. Here's the other thing. Rockets didn't have good three-point shooting. They didn't have good free throw shooting. That's what killed them in this series. Minnesota has that. Anthony Edwards was one of the best three-point shooters in this league this year. They have Dante DiVincenzo. They have Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels. Julius Randle's not a bad shooter as well. Mike Conley. I mean, this three-point shooting. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's not a bad three-point shooter either. The three-point shooting of this team is 10 times better than the Houston Rockets. And that's why the Timberwolves probably would have if the Rockets would have won that Game 7, Minnesota probably would have had an easier time with the Rockets in the series than Golden State. Like honestly, as a Rockets fan, I'll say this: the Rockets could have beat Golden State in Game 7, but they killed themselves, and the Warriors played well. But if the Rockets would have won Game 7 against the Warriors, the Rockets would have been killed by Minnesota. I think Golden State can compete, but I still think Golden State will have a tough time with the outsized. And they're going to get killed with rebounding, especially with Gobert, and then the others like McDaniels and Randall and Reed. They're going to get killed on that end. But then, Minnesota has, like I mentioned, they have things that the Rockets in. The superstar and the amazing three-point shooting, which is something the Rockets didn't have at all. And that's something they were bottom in the league in free throw shooting. They were one of the bottom in the league in 3-point shooting. So, but Minnesota is a lot better with 3-point shooting and having a superstar. We know who that superstar is with Anthony Edwards. But is this series going to be a moonwalk for this Minnesota Timberwolves team? Oh, absolutely not, because this Warriors team's going to fight. We know who playoff Jimmy is. We know who playoff Steph is. Draymond Green, great defender. The bad blood that him and Gobert have, it's not gonna be a easy one for the Minnesota. They're gonna have to fight, and that's where I'm gonna move on to the series predictions. I got Minnesota winning Game 1, Golden State winning Game 2. Going back to San Francisco, I got Warriors winning Game 3 to take a 2-1 lead. I got Minnesota tying the series up at 4 apiece. It's in Game 4 at 2 apiece. And then I got Minnesota going back home winning Game 5, and they'll take a 3-2 lead. Can Minnesota close that out in San Francisco in 6 games? Me personally, I don't think so. It's going to be a hard game to win. I've got the Timberwolves winning in 7 games, going back to Minnesota and winning in Game 7. So that is what I think in this series. I think Minnesota wins this series in 7. And I think the main reason why they do that is because the size advantage they have, and Anthony Edwards, superstar, because he is because Anthony Edwards is the superstar that he is. And number 5 will be the reason why they win this series. So, but it'll also be interesting to see Jimmy Butler go up against his former team and back into Minnesota. We'll see if there are any boos for him. I'm not saying there should be, but we'll see if they are. Then Gobert and Draymond with the history they have. We'll see how that how that works out. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see how this series plays out. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and peace out.